Hey everybody, it's Eddie J on Crypto. Hope you're having a good one. So now let's dig deep into what I was discussing during the Crypto Minute. I know sometimes I can actually just rattle things off in the Crypto Minute, but I think it's all news that we could be paying attention to that might help us, dig a little deeper into those topics. So here we are. Bybit is exiting Canada, and it's just like Binance exited Canada. But I think it's because, both companies offer derivative services and not just spot trading. So that could be the reason why, because you still have Coinbase cracking. I mean, even Coinbase was like, oh, Canada's really good with their regulation. I don't think they're saying that they're really good with their regulation as much as saying that, hey, United States, even Canada's doing it. I think that's more about what that is. The CFTC is also warning against, and this is a mouthful, derivatives clearing organizations, and those are organizations that actually handle the clearing of the settling of deals, and they're saying that there are concerns about the physical delivery of services as well as having issues with what was the second one? Oh, I'm losing it. You guys are going to kill me for having to look at my notes over this one. Sorry about that. This is calling for greater steps in rulemaking. That's great, whatever. But the second reason, which is the big reason, is conflicts of interest. That's what it was. Sorry, my bad. In the morning, I haven't had my coffee yet. You have to forgive me. But when you look at that, it's actually a good reason, because one of the lawmakers in their derivatives and risks section of the CFTC is saying, listen, we need rulemaking, right? Because rulemaking does a couple of things. It sets the standards by which companies can do business by letting them know, hey, look, this is the stuff that you can't do. This is not hard. It's not hard. It really isn't. And we need to step up our game. We really do. I mean, even Brian Armstrong is saying, listen, if the United States doesn't step up, China really does have, viable legs to, taking over the mantle, right? I mean, no time soon, but does have viable legs to become a leader in the space. So that's something for us to contemplate as we move forward. Bitcoin. Bitcoin took a dip. Okay, it took a major dip yesterday. So you saw things go up yesterday. And one of the reasons why everything went up is just, generally good news. And then Mester opened up her mouth. She is the CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland. And she says, hey, we could, I see no problem with, continuing rate hikes. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, what is wrong with this woman? I mean, to be fair, the reason why you have so many different Fed presidents, Fed CEOs in the Federal Reserve, and they take turns voting, is because you want the differing of opinion. You want that. You want that debate to happen. So when I look at Messer and I say, well, why is she saying that, that would be a good thing? Well, it's because, the banking industry could make the correction and fix themselves, which, if you've been looking at everything, they have. JP Morgan bought, First Republic, other things have happened, and things have been being adjusted fairly quickly. That said, we still have companies that are creating basically fake inflation. And that happens when companies raise prices for the sake of profit versus prices being raised because there is a real reason, like, labor shortage or logistical problems, things like that. So that's where you can actually see a big difference. Hi, Stitch. It's my little dog. And so I'm looking at that and I'm going, yeah, when I first heard about it, I sat there and I was like, wow, what is wrong with her? And I was like, yeah, no, she has a good point. She really does have a good point. But there are other factors that you also have to pay attention to, and that's what's going on right now. So I can understand why she's saying that, but that drove markets downward. And if you look at the markets being downward, like today, right now, the Dow implied open is negative, I think like 60 or 67, something like that. So there's a reason for that. Another reason why Bitcoin went down is simply because of profit taking. Not everything's done yet. The debt ceiling deal is not done yet. And last night, before you went to sleep in the United States, the vote hadn't happened. So the markets took a nosedive, right? So there was the first hurdle to come out of that committee to go to the floor. Well, it was a little shaky, but it happened. 7-6 vote, and it happened. Great, that's awesome. But that still says that nothing's sitting in front of the president yet for him to be able to sign. So that is going to continue. So when that happens, when he's actually got something in front of him that he can sign, I think that we'll still see a pop right there. So it kind of makes sense that we saw a little pop and then we saw a drop. Profit taking. That's all it is to me. So I think there's another buying opportunity happening right now, and that's what I'm doing. Next up, James Harper says that the IRS obtained his information from Coinbase illegally. Well, a judge said, nope, they're perfectly within their operating parameters to do so, and case was, done. That's it. That's the ruling. And you sit there and you kind of go, I guess that's why Eddie is not a big fan of of centralized exchanges. It's not that I'm trying to hide anything. It's the fact that I don't think that the IRS needs to know everything, and I don't think the public needs to know everything. So, I mean, in certain ways, right? Because all of your transactions are on the blockchain in the public eye. But that's a whole bunch of numbers and letters. That's not necessarily Eddie Johnson just did this. You'd have to know my address and associate it with me to be able to say that. What the IRS is saying is, listen, we already have a way for rich people to take advantage of the system and, just skirt rules and all that kind of stuff. And we don't want to make the same mistake in this space. And so if you're making transactions or have over a certain amount of money being held on a centralized exchange, we want to know about it. And the reason why is because the money's sitting there. If you make these transactions, there are taxes that are involved, and we want to know about it. Makes sense, no? Kind of makes sense. So I don't know that I'm mad about that. But these are things that help to pressure Bitcoin, and it happened. But that's all right. That's totally okay, to be expected, and I'm cool with that. I really am. I don't make, I'm not loaded like that, so I'm not making, big transactions like that. Well, but you know what I mean, right? That's not a regular. That's more for, large transactions, institutional investors, wealthy people, rich people that have that kind of money to throw around. Just saying. BRICS New Development Bank. I know you want to play, but I'm working right now. BRICS New Development Bank is for the BRICS nations, obviously, and they're in talks with Saudi Arabia to actually get Saudi Arabia to work with them as countries around the world start thinking about an alternative to the US dollar. Now, how far away are you from something like BRICS taking the mantle from the US dollar? I think you're far away. Still, it's something that's happening. Take a step back and you say to yourself, well, BRICS nations just got started and crypto's kind of got a head start. Could crypto win out? Highly possible. I still think that's highly possible, right? And I think right now it's just a concerted effort to ditch the United States dollar, as opposed to, hey, here's this other technology that's here, that's happening. They've got CBDCs, those are coming, all that good stuff. I don't know. I think that there's a strong chance that, it's not going to be a single crypto. I think it'll be several. But I think the crypto industry as a whole could become that space where, why do we need it? I mean, last week, was it last week or the week before last? I even told you how, there was an alarm sounded in the euro saying, listen, if we don't do a CBDC or something, really a CBDC, there's no reason to use the euro. Wow. This is the kind of level of stuff that we're talking about. So when I talk about news, I'm not shilling coins. I have preferences for coins. My kids have preferences for coins. But I'm not necessarily talking to you, you need to buy this. No. That's not what I do. What I do is try to tell you and share with you news that could affect what you might want to do. And these are things that could affect what you might want to do. Cardano, slow project, but I really like Cardano, but it's slow as hell. They just came out and said, hey, we have a new smart contracts platform called Marlowe, and we're just releasing it onto the mainnet for testing. That's big because it was a shortcoming for Cardano. No smart contracts. Here you go. That's kind of cool. That's very, very cool. Binance is rumored to be in talks with Bank Frick and Flowbank. And the significance of this is because it would decrease counterparty risk. There are institutions out there that are still thinking they could be, even working with Binance, they could be in an FTX situation. This would decrease that risk for them. So as you can see, there is a lot going on. There's a lot of reason for you to do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Hopefully my research helps you. But you know what we should do now? That's right. We should look at the numbers. So let's go do that. Let's give this a quick refresh. All right, so here we are. Here are the big losers. Wow, the whole row, nothing but losers. Let's start with the ones that I actually know about or care about. Optimism is down 10%. Pepe, pay attention, Pepe is down 9%. Okay, remember that this is a rolling number, but in one day, Pepe is down 9%, and their market cap is at 528. Yesterday, when I looked, they were at 527. It was also a down day. So pay attention to these things. Harmony is getting wrecked, 8% down. Look at how far off it is. All right, 96% off its all-time high. Just saying, these are things that you should be paying attention to. Anybody else on this list that I want to pay attention to? Injective off by 7%. Arbitrum is off by 7%. Stacks is off by 7%. To me, for a couple of these projects, to me, it's a buying opportunity. Looking on the plus side, really nothing to talk about here. I mean, there's nobody on this list that I pay attention to that's within my 5% rule range. So that's dead and buried. Bitcoin being down at 27,000. Look at this, $27,992. That's bad. Ethereum, again, dipping below the 1900 where we really like to be. Painful. But those are to me opportunities. Are you paying attention to XRP? Now let's get into XRP a little bit. Let me switch screens real fast so that you can actually see what I'm talking about. So don't mind this on the wall. I had a little problem, so I had to patch the hole. Had a screw pop. But let's get into XRP. Let's suppose a ruling comes in the next few weeks, like Brad Garlinghouse says, and the ruling is against Ripple. Well, he says 95% of the holders are outside the United States anyway. I think that number is a little bit less in reality because whoever in the United States wanted to own Ripple or XRP did it via VPN or whatever have you, went to DEXs, all that good stuff, but they did not go through centralized exchanges. Now, what's the next problem? The next problem is, well, if it's negative, Ripple's already proven that that's not a problem. We have a business model, we have use cases, and the use of XRP outside the United States is actually pretty high. That's interesting. That is very interesting. And they just bought, who was it? But Bitstamp or something like that. They bought into BitThumb or something like that. I have to look at my notes to see who they actually got into. Let's do that. I'll bring my notes over here, and we say Ripple. Who'd they buy? They bought somebody. Because it's going to annoy me that I don't remember who they actually bought. Bitstamp, 500 million. They dropped $500 million on Bitstamp. That's actually a big deal because $500 million is nothing to shake a stick at, okay? That means that even if they lose, that's not going to cause a drop. I don't think it's going to cause a major drop on the coin. I think where it is right now is just major upside because it's not against the coin, it's against the company. And the company is quite resilient, demonstrating that by a $500 million drop on Bitstamp. That's kind of a big deal. Anyway, let's get back to the numbers. So looking at this, again, we're far below where I really want to be. We're at 27.66 now, down from that 92 even. Um, but when you look at this, what's that, a $26 drop in a couple of minutes? We're still looking at that 28.28. That's where we really want to be. We want to be above that. But as long as we're still within this band, we're moving laterally, and that's what I expect. I do not expect, a significant drop, right? We could, but I'm not expecting a significant drop. There's talk about the 200-day moving average and where that is, and how we could bust through that 200-day moving average, and if that happens, everything goes up. I tend to look at not necessarily numbers, not to say the numbers are wrong, but I tend to look at the news to see how the news is going to move everything. So that's what I look at. And I think that news is positive right now. So I'm paying attention to those kinds of things. DeFi Llama, total value locked in USD is $60 billion. We're down a little bit from yesterday. Fear and Greed Index, still at 51. All right. Again, debt ceiling gets solved. I think things go up. After that comes June 1st. That's tomorrow. And that's when we'll find out if the rumors are true that retail investors will have access to crypto in China, mainland China, and Hong Kong. That will be big. It's not the Hong Kong part, it's the mainland China part. Those could be big deals. Anyway, this is Eddie J on crypto. I hope you have a good one. I hope my research helps. If it does, drop me a note, just say hi, or even ask me a question. Let me see if I can go research something for you. Anyway, have a good one. Bye-bye.